Mastering the art of stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the most important thing, controlling your nervous system. In a high-pressure environment, those who react quickly often lose sight of the bigger picture. The individual who stays composed, who doesn't flinch at provocation, who remains physically calm while others scramble to respond, is the one who controls the emotional tempo of the space. Stillness is a powerful nonverbal signal that you are not at the mercy of your environment. From a neuroscientific perspective, it communicates dominance and high-status behavior. When your body doesn't fidget, when your gestures are intentional and rare, it indicates to others that your brain is not in a state of threat. You're operating from your prefrontal cortex, not your limbic system. This state enhances your cognitive function, especially executive decision-making and pattern recognition. People often misinterpret silence and stillness as weakness, but over time, they come to realize it's a kind of presence that requires deep internal mastery. Being still when others are frantic makes you stand out. It draws attention and conveys authority. The paradox is that in your stillness, you become the most dynamic person in the room. You are not competing for airtime. You are commanding it simply by how you hold yourself. This stillness, when practiced, becomes a habit, one that helps rewire the nervous system to remain resilient under pressure. Breath becomes slower, movements become economical, thoughts become more precise. The less you move unnecessarily, the more control you show, and the more control you genuinely develop. You begin to notice more, sense more, anticipate more. That's the hidden intelligence of stillness. It turns you into a super processor of information, and in situations where others are impulsively reacting, you're able to map out multiple outcomes in your mind without saying a word. Your silence becomes strategy, your pause becomes power, your lack of reaction becomes your greatest tool for influence. You are not avoiding the world, you are absorbing it. And when you finally act or speak, it's surgical, effective, and impossible to ignore. That's the power of mastering the art of stillness. Eye contact is one of the most powerful nonverbal tools available to any human being. It's a silent form of communication that bypasses language and speaks directly to the brain's social circuitry. When used with precision, it can signal confidence, competence, respect, and even dominance, all without uttering a single word. Scientific studies show that sustained yet relaxed eye contact activates regions of the brain such as the superior temporal sulcus and amygdala, both of which are involved in interpreting social signals and emotional expressions. This means that when you hold someone's gaze with calm intention, their brain automatically starts assessing your level of confidence, stability, and credibility. However, it's not just about looking, it's about how you look. Aggressive eye contact creates tension and activates the threat response in others, while soft, steady gaze builds trust and connection. When you enter a room and your gaze isn't darting around anxiously, but instead anchored with deliberate focus, you appear grounded. People naturally look to those who seem self-assured for direction, reassurance, or leadership. Eye contact, when executed correctly, establishes a silent hierarchy where the calm observer subtly influences the emotional tone of the space. But here's the deeper neuroscience at play. Eye contact also regulates your own internal state. Looking directly into someone's eyes while staying physiologically calm can train your autonomic nervous system to remain composed under scrutiny. This is particularly powerful in social or high-stakes situations where many feel pressure to speak or perform. Instead, you let your presence speak for itself. You hold the gaze, not to intimidate, but to anchor the moment in awareness. When you do this consistently, people start adjusting their behavior in response to yours. They interpret your calm focus as inner authority. They begin to mirror your pace, adopt your rhythm, and treat your responses as more valuable. There's also the power of strategic disengagement, knowing when to break eye contact intentionally. Looking away slowly after making a point signals completeness and self-assurance. It says you don't need validation. You're not chasing approval. You're simply communicating from a position of internal alignment. Mastering this rhythm of contact and release allows you to lead social dynamics without ever becoming overbearing. In team settings, job interviews, negotiations, or even casual encounters, your eyes will often say far more than your words ever could. This is the silent science of social influence. When trained, it becomes second nature. and you realize that the way you use your gaze can either shrink you into the background or elevate you into leadership without having to prove anything. Posture is more than just physical alignment. It's a direct expression of your internal state and a feedback loop to your brain. How you carry your body signals not only to others but to yourself what kind of person you are in that moment: confident or insecure, grounded or scattered, alert or disengaged. Neuroscience has shown that posture influences brain chemistry, particularly hormones like testosterone and cortisol. When you sit or stand upright with your shoulders open, spine lengthened, and chest relaxed yet expanded, your body sends signals to your brain that increase dopamine and testosterone, neurochemicals associated with motivation, confidence, and assertiveness. At the same time, it decreases cortisol, the hormone associated with stress and anxiety. This shift in neurochemistry is subtle but incredibly impactful, especially in social or professional settings where nonverbal cues are constantly being read, often subconsciously. An upright posture doesn't mean rigidity or stiffness. It means alignment, where your spine is supported, your head is balanced on your shoulders, and your limbs are relaxed yet ready. This stance communicates quiet power. It tells others that you are stable, aware, and not easily swayed. You become someone others instinctively follow or defer to, not because you demand it, but because your body silently exudes control and readiness. Posture also affects how you breathe. Slouched or collapsed positions restrict the diaphragm and limit oxygen flow, which in turn reduces energy and focus. But when you are aligned, breathing becomes deeper and more efficient, fueling your brain with the oxygen it needs to maintain clarity and control. In high-stakes environments, this kind of physiological alignment keeps you calm, alert, and engaged. Whether in a meeting room, on a stage, or simply entering a social space, your posture creates a first impression before you've even spoken. People sense grounded posture. They respond to it by listening more closely, respecting more deeply, and assuming, often correctly, that the person who looks most composed is also thinking most clearly. The beauty of posture is that it's trainable. Through intentional practice, such as movement disciplines like yoga, martial arts, or somatic awareness, you can rewire your body to default to a position of strength. Over time, you stop slouching under pressure and start rising into it. You stop shrinking yourself to be comfortable and start expanding to command space without aggression. You realize posture is not a mask, it's a mirror. And when you take control of that mirror, you take control of your presence. You don't need to raise your voice or chase attention. You embody intelligence, resilience, and clarity, silently broadcasting all three. Controlled breathing is one of the most overlooked tools for silently influencing your environment and regulating your own state. Every breath you take sends a signal to your brain about whether you're safe, stressed, or ready. Fast, shallow breathing, especially from the chest, activates the sympathetic nervous system, which puts your body into a reactive fight or flight mode. On the other hand, slow, deep breathing, particularly when drawn through the nose and extended on the exhale, engages the parasympathetic system, calming your heart rate and bringing your brain into a state of alert relaxation. This isn't just about feeling better, it's about commanding presence. In any high-stakes interaction, the person who breathes more slowly is usually the person more in control, both of themselves and of the dynamic unfolding around them. Without saying a word, your breath influences your posture, your facial expression, your eye contact, and even your decision-making. The breath is the only physiological system that operates both automatically and voluntarily. That means you can use it to take conscious control of your internal state. When your breathing is calm, others can feel it. They may not know exactly what it is, but they will register that your presence makes them feel more grounded. This creates a subtle but powerful social advantage. People are drawn to those who regulate their own energy effectively. In negotiations, interviews, leadership settings, or conflicts, a person who doesn't let their breath get hijacked by adrenaline is often seen as the most competent and trustworthy in the room. There is also a neurological benefit to breath control. Slow breathing enhances prefrontal cortex activity, the area responsible for logical thinking, planning, and emotional regulation. It also reduces activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain associated with fear and impulsivity. This creates a perfect internal environment for clarity and precision. Instead of reacting from emotion, you respond from strategy. And even though no one hears you take that breath, they feel the difference in how you carry yourself. Controlled breathing creates a kind of energetic silence that's hard to explain but impossible to ignore. It slows down time, allowing you to pause before responding, to observe before judging, and to choose your actions with intelligence instead of impulse. Training your breath doesn't require complicated techniques. Even a few cycles of intentional breathing, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, can shift your brain state significantly. Practice daily, this becomes second nature. In moments of tension, instead of panicking, you default to calm. In situations of uncertainty, your breath becomes your anchor. Others may speak louder or move faster, but you remain rooted, internally organized, and neurologically optimized. Micro-expressions are brief, involuntary facial expressions that reveal true emotions, often appearing and disappearing in less than half a second. Though subtle, they are universally understood across cultures and deeply wired into the human brain. Learning to recognize, control, and deploy these microsignals is one of the most advanced forms of nonverbal intelligence. The beauty of microexpressions lies in their subtlety. They're not about overt gestures or exaggerated smiles, but about nuanced, fleeting movements that convey emotional depth, intelligence, or authority without the need for speech. A small lift of the eyebrow can signal curiosity or doubt. A micro-smile can express quiet confidence, reassurance, or even amusement. A subtle tightening of the eyes can communicate intensity or focus. These movements are processed subconsciously by those around you, influencing how they perceive and respond to you on a deep neurological level. The brain has specialized neurons, mirror neurons, that respond to facial cues in others, often causing people to reflect back what they see. This means that your facial expressions, even when minimal, can set the emotional tone of an interaction. If your face remains composed and subtly expressive in a heated situation, it tends to calm others. If you show a flicker of awareness or insight, it can make others feel seen and understood. This creates connection, trust, and sometimes even awe, all without speaking. What's more, these microexpressions are a direct extension of your internal state. If you're anxious, distracted, or emotionally reactive, your face will reflect it, even if you try to suppress it. But when your inner world is calm and regulated, your face communicates clarity, poise, and awareness. Training your facial control doesn't mean becoming robotic or masking your emotions. It means becoming more aware of how your emotions show up on your face and learning to guide them with intention. Practices like mindfulness, mirror feedback, and slow-motion video review can help you become more conscious of the micro signals you send. Over time, you can develop the ability to project the exact tone you want: calm, strong, thoughtful, skeptical, without uttering a word. In high-level social dynamics, this skill becomes a form of silent persuasion. People feel your presence not through what you say, but through what your face communicates before words are ever spoken. When used well, microexpressions can make you appear more intelligent, more self-aware, and more emotionally stable. In job interviews, negotiations, leadership roles, and even casual conversations, these subtle cues can completely shift the outcome. They create a nonverbal language of control, of presence, that resonates far deeper than speech. You don't have to overexpress or exaggerate to make an impact. You just have to be precise, congruent, and aware. People will sense that you're not just reacting, you're reading, interpreting, and guiding the room. That's how microexpressions give you the edge. They're invisible to the untrained, yet they control everything. Becoming the observer is one of the most powerful cognitive and psychological strategies a person can develop to outsmart others without saying anything. In any situation, most people are so focused on reacting, trying to be heard, to be right, to defend themselves, that they miss what's actually happening beneath the surface. The observer, on the other hand, is different. They step back, they watch, they track the emotional shifts, the tone changes, the inconsistencies between what's being said and how it's being said. This observational stance allows for greater awareness, better decision-making, and a heightened sense of timing. You don't rush to respond because you're too busy collecting data, verbal, nonverbal, energetic. You see what others miss, and that makes you dangerous in the best way. Neuroscience supports this skill with the concept of meta-awareness, the brain's ability to observe its own mental processes. When you practice observation, especially in real time, you're strengthening the brain's prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-regulation, insight, and strategic thinking. Simultaneously, you're decreasing impulsive behavior driven by the limbic system, particularly the amygdala. That means while others are emotionally charged or distracted, you're calculating patterns, identifying motives, and predicting outcomes. This creates a powerful edge. You're not caught in the noise. You are analyzing the signal. And the more you observe, the more your intuition sharpens. Intuition is often just pattern recognition experienced as a gut feeling. Observers have more patterns stored in memory, so their instincts become faster and more accurate. Being the observer doesn't mean detachment or coldness. It means presence. You're fully there, but without getting tangled in the drama or the performance. In fact, your quiet attention often disrupts others who are used to being able to control a room through volume or charisma. They sense your awareness, and it unsettles them because they know they're being seen, really seen. This often causes them to reveal more than they intended, trying to regain control or prove something. Meanwhile, you remain still, reading between the lines, understanding the emotional and strategic landscape with clarity. In negotiation, leadership, or personal dynamics, this gives you immense influence. Observation also builds empathy. When you watch without reacting, you begin to notice the subtle signs of discomfort, insecurity, or hidden emotion in others. This gives you the opportunity to respond with precision and humanity, not just strategy. People feel that, and they trust you, even if they don't understand why. You become the person who always seems to get it, the one who makes others feel understood, even in silence. And in an age of constant talking and performance, that quiet insight stands out as rare intelligence. Becoming the observer is not a passive role. It's active, deliberate, and deeply disciplined. It trains your mind to resist impulsive urges and instead prioritize understanding over reaction. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to dominate the room. You simply need to see clearly. And in doing so, you often find that others begin to follow your lead, look to you for guidance, or adjust their behavior in response to your calm, penetrating awareness. That's how you outsmart anyone, by watching what they can't see in themselves and responding not with noise, but with intelligent silence.